Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kyle. I'm the Product Operations Manager here at Reltio. I'm excited to be joined by several members of our product management team to bring you our 2021.2 release overview today. This is our second of 3 major releases we do each year. Information from today's session is being recorded and will be available after the meeting. This session is meant to be a review of Reltio's product direction for informational purposes only. As I mentioned, today's session is being recorded. It will be accessible in our documentation portal as well as the Reltio community. Both of those will be reviewed in a little bit. You are in listen-only mode, but we definitely want to hear from you today. So please be sure to use the Q&A option in the bottom of your Zoom panel. Those questions will be answered by our panelists during today's session, and they'll be made available to all of our participants afterwards as well. If you have any additional questions or comments after today's session, please don't hesitate to reach out to your Reltio contact or post in the community. We're going to kick off today's session by giving you highlights of the overall release. And now I'm going to hand it over to Prasad.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you very much. Good morning and good evening to the Reltio community here on this call. I am Prasad Satam from the product management team at Reltio. It's an absolute pleasure this morning I have to present the 21.2 release highlights. So let's take a look at the capabilities that are going to be a part of this release. In the multi-domain MDM section, this is where the customer journey begins by building data models, survivorship, matching, in the process of creating a multi-domain MDM repository of single source of trusted data. So in this section, we are introducing US Census data in the address verification process that we'll hear about in a short while, and have some exciting enhancements in the matching and fuzzy matching that we will go over. In the connectors and the integration section, this is what our customers use to bring the data in the Reltio platform and also to take it out. We are adding self-service capabilities in the DNB connector along with the security and match enhancements. And similarly, we have some enhancements in the Salesforce and the MuleSoft connector. The user experience or Reltio UI has always been a differentiator for us. It provides a very simple and intuitive way to connect to our platform. It helps data stewards to improve productivity and also the business users to help them understand and use the data which is managed in Reltio. In this section, we are extremely excited to unveil the new graph search. It's a very, very strong searching enhancements in the platform, which will be a part of the early access, and you'll hear about it in a bit. And similarly, there are enhancements in the bulk update user experience. To derive actionable insights, once the data is mastered and managed in the Reltio cloud, we are introducing the Snowflake connector in the GA support. And I'll be very excited to talk about it in a bit. Similarly, in the governance and the compliance section, you will see some enhancements in the workflow inbox user experience. And finally, in the Reltio platform, we are adding a utility which will help you to get started with the cleansing configuration. So take a seat back as we deep dive through each of these areas. Next slide. Reltio's mission is to help enterprises understand their customers better to deliver better customer experiences. So in 21.2, we are introducing the US Census data, specifically the census code, census class code, and the metropolitan statistical area information in the address verification process, which will improve the location intelligence of any location for other customers or any other profiles. There are a couple of use cases that I can think of for which this census code information can be used for, but I wanted to highlight 2 use cases for which some of our customers are going to use this data for. One of the insurance provider they are going to use this information to monitor COVID cases in a particular region and direct the members to a nearby healthcare facility. And if the member is eligible, they can also provide free transportation to this facility for care. That's a pretty strong use case in the current situation. Similarly, one customer wants to use this information to build compliance report so that they can get some credit back from the US government. And they also want to use this for market research to power their advertising campaigns. Some of the other use cases on the lines of the user segmentation is what I can think of, for which we can use the census code information for. And the good part is all this information will be available as a part of the base license package for both the CAS and the non-CAS configurations. And this is, since the US information, it will be only available in the US region. The one thing which I want to note down is the new address fields or the new output fields in the cleanser will require us to change the data model to accommodate these new fields. So I encourage you guys to take a look at the census data, and we have a Reltio community where we can provide a feedback of this feature. And this census information is just a small piece of information which is available through the US Census Bureau. There's other information like household income or demographic that can be made a part of our address verification process in the future. And I encourage you guys to use the Reltio community to initiate these discussions and let us know what other fields in the census data can help you with your business data problems. With that, I want to hand over to Suchin, who will walk us through the matching enhancements.
Thanks, Prasad. Next, we are going to talk about matching. The first part is the ML-powered Match IQ. I want to take just a minute to summarize Match IQ feature, which we released in 2021.1 for general availability. So this feature basically is completely rule-less, works on the machine learning trained model for performing the matching. So to further enhance this capability, we have added a lot of exciting features. I'm going to walk you through those things today. So in 2021.1, we released Match IQ functionality to recommend matches based on the training that you provide. So based on the data set, it will basically tell you whether Match IQ believes if any given match pair is a strong match or not. To take it further, we have added merging capability to this functionality. So what this will allow, as you can see here from the screenshot, that now you can basically take the Match IQ and assign action to the generated pair. So you can say that if the score of the match pair is greater than say 90% or 95, I want Match IQ to go and automatically merge them. And if the score is a little lower than that, as you can see the line number 2 here, I'm basically just categorizing this as high confidence matches, which my data stewards can resolve. And there could be some other matches which are scored even lower than that, and you still want to have a look at them, but not like immediately, but you can mark them as medium confidence. And anything scored lower than any threshold that you like, you can just ignore it, or you can basically ask Match IQ to ignore it so that you're not distracted by the lower scored matches. So this is a very strong feature that we have added in 2021.2. And I would like to jump to the demo and show you this functionality. So this is the Match IQ dashboard where you can basically create models, train the models, manage, review, approve models, and so on. So in the manage publish setting now, you will see this control. When I go to manage setting, you would see that I can now basically select a new action, automatically merge, and I can say I want anything which is more than 85 and higher, I want those pairs to automatically merge. You will notice that for automatic merge, there is no action, because this action basically is basically just a guideline for the data stewards to kind of resolve potential matches. So when you select potential matches and you want anything more than say 67% and higher up to 85%, then you want basically, I'm saying this is high confidence matches. I could basically keep on going like this. I can create another set of category here. I can say this is medium confidence. And I can set a different threshold. One other cool thing about this one is, as you can see, there are other custom actions that you can now configure with Match IQ. I can basically use this Match IQ for publishing the potential link if I want to. So this is basically, I'm saying if anything greater than 0.21 and higher, I want this pair to be just be notified in the streaming. So I can configure a lot of actions here, and there are different parameters. You can do this only for external match, internal match, and so on. So this is one other thing that we'll be adding to 2021.2. The other thing that we have added in Match IQ is review of the model using a custom set of record set. So I'll show you that in a minute. So when you click on this, there is one option that was always there since the beginning of 2021.1, which is downloading the review model. This basically is a module where it basically generates a sample pairs for users to verify the potential or matches that a Match IQ has generated for you to see whether the Match IQ has got the match requirement right. One thing that we have seen that, is that there's a random set of pairs that we generate. What our customers were looking for is a way for them to kind of bring their own file and run the matching on that file. With that, you can basically bring the set of data that you are comfortable with, that you know how they should match. You can basically bring that and ask Match IQ to run that matching on that data set. So you'll have this second option starting 2021.2, where you can say, I want to create a review job using my own data set. Now I can click on that, just browse the file where you have your record set, and just continue and just map the columns from the file to the data model and just click on Run Match. I have one which is already running, so I'll show you that. You can click on this view, and as you can see here, this is a review job, and you can download the result using the custom file that you had. I'm going to go. And the last thing I want to point out here is in 2021.1, we released a Match IQ portability functionality. What that function does is basically it allows you to train a model in one single environment or any tenant, and then you can distribute that model to any tenant in any environment for you to simply use that model for matching. The training process, the review process, all of that can happen in one tenant, and now you can move that model around. You can share it with your other regions or other tenants and so on. Now we are excited to basically announce the self-service Match IQ model portability API. What this means is you will be able to do this, and you would not require to create a support ticket to move your models between tenants or even between environments. So these are some of the features that we have added in Match IQ for 2021.2. Definitely looking for you guys to try this, and if there are any comments, feedback, please do reach out to us, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. The next section we are going to talk about fuzzy matching or matching for multiple languages. As our customers are basically bringing more and more data and expanding their use cases to support global rollout, we see that there are a lot of different language data that we are loading into Reltio tenant. With this 2021.2 release, we are excited to announce the matching capability that will support the multiple languages. So as you can see here in this example, I have sort of mixed data here. I have first name for first record, which is written in English, and then I have last name of that same record in different language, and I have another record which is completely in different language. So with this new functionality, what you will be able to do is basically use your existing match rule or write a new one and basically tell Reltio to basically take different language into account and do the fuzzy matching or any functionality or any comparison that you have configured. What we have done with the matching now is we have added transliteration module to the matching process. So as a first step in the loading process, when the data gets loaded in Reltio, now we are transliterating the data into the Latin language so that we can basically match that data with any other data set that you might have. So basically, we are just kind of creating a common sort of transliterated data before we perform the matching. This will allow you to take any of your existing match rule and simply extend that to support this functionality by just configuring that one additional parameter in your existing match rule. So it's completely backward compatible. You can just take any existing match rule and put that configuration into basically start matching and considering these multiple languages. The configuration is very simplified. You can match between two languages or within the same language. So I can basically match Chinese with Hindi or Hindi with Hindi or English with Hindi and any combination. With that, I'm going to hand over to Gaurav to take us to connectors and integration.
Thanks, Sachin. Hi, everyone. I'm Gaurav from the product management team. Really excited to share the 2021.2 release features for connectors and integrations. I'll start with the DNB connector features, starting with the self-service APIs. So you would know that DNB connector enables you to progressively stitch and enrich organization profile data, making it more insightful and more useful for data stewards, allowing better decisions and data-driven actions. With such capabilities like match, enrichment, and monitoring, you can keep your data enriched with up-to-date information about the companies you care about. So DNB connector comes with pre-configured mappings for various attributes of the account 360 data model. And these are applied for various operations like match, enrichment, and batch operations. However, you had to modify and enhance these mappings according to your data model and business requirements. So you relied on the Reltio support as well as engineering for changing and updating those mappings in your tenant. But with 21.2 release, we are really glad to offer the self-service APIs for DNB connector. With these APIs, you'll be able to manage and maintain the DNB connector mappings. What you would be able to do is basically fetch the existing mappings for your DNB connector, update those with new mappings, or even reset the mappings to the default ones provided by Reltio. So, these are some of the APIs that will definitely help you to be more self-reliant in managing the DNB connectors and also reduce the time to value for your DNB installations. Really excited about this feature and looking forward to your comments, your feedback through the community. Next, I want to talk about the DNB connector self-security, as well as some of the match enhancements that we have done. So it's for the security, what we have done is you can now use the Reltio auth tokens for authentication. So if you have used the connector APIs directly, you would have noticed that Reltio credentials are required to be passed as part of the API headers, right? So but now what we have done is we have enhanced the security with the use of Reltio auth tokens, and you don't need to basically pass the credentials. These APIs are of course backward compatible, so there would not be any change for your existing installations. However, we recommend that you change those to use the Reltio auth token. As for match, it's specifically for the DNB recertification process. So in the batch process or the batch mode of DNB connector, whenever entities are entities which are already assigned with dunce values are passed to the to DNB for enrichment, the process is called the recertification process. For such recertification process, the batch API currently uses the the match and append API, but we have changed that. Now it will be using the append only API. So no match would be performed for recertification scenarios. And what this would do is it would avoid having false positives when the match is performed using additional parameters like addresses and all along with the dunce numbers, right? And additionally, what we have done is the so-called vendor verification status is also updated with the status that is returned from the dunce response, basically whether the dunce is transferred or the dunce number is deleted. So that those statuses would also be applied on your data profile, right? So these are some of the enhancements on the DNB connector side. Next, I would want to share the feature that we are releasing for Salesforce, which is basically the data load tasks. So with Salesforce connector, you can keep your data in sync between the Salesforce org and Reltio tenant. And what we have seen in the past is requests about performing initial data sync or an occasional full data load from Reltio to Salesforce or from Salesforce to Reltio. And these activities were performed either using some sort of a scripts or generating triggers on the Salesforce side, or generating events on the Reltio side, which would then be processed by the connector and would eventually load the data from one system to the another. With 21.2, what we have done is we provide the tasks-based APIs to perform such data load syncs between Reltio and Salesforce so that it is more convenient for you to load data. You can execute these tasks directly in your Reltio system without having to write any scripts or generate dummy events or having any such workarounds. So with these APIs, it would save significant amount of your time during the implementations which you spent loading the data. It would also avoid a lot of errors which might come occur with the workarounds being used. Please note that this ability is uses the mappings, filter criteria, and the transformation logic that is defined for your Salesforce connector. And also note that this feature would be available only on the GA, which is the June 16th, and it's not currently planned to be part of the preview release. Right. So really excited about this one as well. And lastly, I want to talk about MuleSoft connector, which was also a very important enhancement that we did. So you would know that the MuleSoft connector allows you to operate on data, the relative entities, relationships, interactions, data change requests. It supports a large family of connectors that enable you to connect your third-party applications and create integration flow with Reltio. It uses an IDE called Anypoint Studio, and using this Anypoint Studio, you can build a flow that integrates those applications and APIs with Reltio. With 21.2, what we have done is we have simplified how you create the mappings from your source system to Reltio in the Anypoint Studio. The connector that resides on the Anypoint Studio now enables you to extract the metadata from your Reltio tenant to which you have already established the connection. And once you extract the metadata, you can select the entity type and use the drag and drop capability of the Anypoint Studio to create the mappings from your service. So what this would do is basically it would make it a lot easier for your configurators and system integrators to create the mappings rather than using scripts to build the metadata and then perform the mappings. Please note that this new connector would be available on the Anypoint Exchange, which is the MuleSoft marketplace with version 2.1.0, and you should upgrade the connector once it's available, and it would be certified from MuleSoft, so it's easier for you to deploy this on your MuleSoft installations as well. Right, so this was all about the connectors and integrations. Next, I will hand it over to Sachin for the user experience session. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurav. Next, we're going to talk about graph search. I want to call out that this is an early access feature. So basically, right now we are working with some of our early access customers to set them up with this new functionality for verification and validation of this feature. We'll iterate through this functionality as we get feedback from early access customer, and please look for more updates on this on community, on help portal, documentation portal, and on weekly releases. Just to give you a little bit of background on this, so we have a very strong capability in terms of searching for entities on Reltio UI. You can build a complex query there by using any set of attribute for any entity. You can basically use various kind of search operators that we have provided there. With the graph search, we wanted to kind of take the search experience to the next level. With this, now you can basically use the relationship data in your search criteria of the entity search. I want to jump into the demo and basically talk about this new feature from here. So this is basically the search that you can do for any entity type. I can use any attribute here, build a complex query, like I said, using and or operations and things like that. With this new functionality, graph search, you can switch to this new module. And let me start over. So these are the list of entities that are configured in my tenant. I'm looking for contacts. So I'm just going to go do a search here, and it tells me that there are close to 15,437 contacts here. I can, of course, basically do a further, attribute filtering. I can use first name, last name, address, or whatnot. But what I want to do is basically I'm looking for contact that has at least one organization associated with it, right? So I'm going to click on this relationship here. This will basically list all relationships that are configured for contact. So I'm looking for organization to contact, and I'm saying, show me all the contacts that has at least one organization associated with it. So I can basically search on this, and as you can see, now from 15,000 some odd records, it brought the record count to 22. Now, if I'm looking for fixing my data, and I was expecting every contact to have at least one organization, this is a very quick way of basically finding that I'm very short on this one, meaning my data is not loaded yet, or it's something needs to be collected there. I can open this record, and I can confirm that it has associated organization here. Quickly go on to the next record, and I have organization here as well. So as you can see, now you can use the relationship data for searching your entity information. What I want to do next is basically, I can now do the same kind of relationship at the contact level. Basically, you can go vertically or horizontally. This was basically an example of going vertically, right? Contact one level deep, which is contact to organization. Now I want to do contact to, say, address. I'm looking for contacts that has at least one address and has at least one organization. So I can do that search now, and it's doing the search, and okay, I still have those 22 records which has the address. I can now basically do any attribute at any level that I've selected. So one example is I'm looking for addresses from, say, state California. So I'll pick state California here, and I'm looking for this. So now it brought me down to 12. So as you can see, all these contacts have at least one address from California and will have at least one organization associated with it. So the attribute selection or attribute criteria that I just used, this was one of the examples where I have set the search criteria using the related entities attribute. In this case, it is location. I could basically do the same thing for any attribute at any level. So has address has set of attributes. So address type, for example, I could basically set, that I'm looking for, say, business or home. So let me do that search. So I don't have any business address type. So as you can see, I can set attribute or search criteria at any level. I can do it at the entity level of the contact that I'm searching for, or at the attribute level of the related entity. In this case, it is organization or location, or the attribute of the relationship itself, which is organization to contact. If it had any attribute, in this case, it has just a start and end date, or attribute of the relationship. Now, we didn't want to basically stop there, right? We wanted to basically see what if we have situations like I'm looking for organization or looking for contact that has at least one organization and has at least one address, but I'm also looking for contact that has organization, and organization has at least one other organization associated with it. So I can basically go one more level down here from organization. So I'm looking for organization that has address again, and I can basically do this. So as you can see, there are 3 levels down here from contact to organization, and that organization has located or is located at specific location, and I can do the search. So when I do that, I not basically don't have that record here because of the address type business, but just wanted to kind of demonstrate, that we are super excited for this functionality. There are a lot of use cases that you can apply this for. Some of our early customers are verifying this one. We'll keep you guys updated on the progress of it. And we are looking forward to making this for general availability very shortly. So with that, I want to hand over to Gaurav. Sorry, Nirmal. Sorry, Sushant.
That's me. Thanks, Suchin.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, we are making continuous improvements in order to improve, our tools to improve data steward productivity. And in this direction, we have added 2 major enhancements to the bulk update feature. If you remember, in last release 2021.1, we have introduced bulk updates on our UI and React. And now we have added 2 big, most, very heavily requested features from our customers, which is deletion of profiles in bulk, as well as, bulk updates for tags. So I'll quickly jump to the demo itself to take you through it. Before I tell you more about these features, as you might have seen the bulk update tool or bulk update feature in there, we have introduced a new select operation UI in there, where you actually have to select whether you want to update the selected profiles or delete them. And with that, I'll talk about the first few enhancements that we have done. This is a feature requested by a lot of our customers, right? It enables our users, data stewards, and administrators to delete profiles in bulk. We could always do this via our APIs, but now we have enabled it via UI with a great user experience that makes it very simpler, very efficient, and very, very quick for our users to delete profiles in case they were created, with errors, or they have to be deleted for any reasons, right? So you can simply select delete profiles. You don't have to define any changes, review that you're deleting a certain number of profiles, and a background job will be scheduled, and you'll get an email that the deletion is done, is it successful, or how many records were deleted successfully. So very simple, but yet very powerful UI that is developed for this operation. It requires specific permissions, which are getting documented on our doc portal, and which will be live on our documentation portal tomorrow. And these permissions are needed by users to do the delete profile operation. The second one I want to talk about is enhancements to update profiles. You could always update profiles with all the attributes in your data model. What we have added here is ability to update tags. So tags is a feature that a lot of our customers use to mark profiles with a certain behavior or with a certain attribute, certain tag, right? I mean, so what they can do is simply add a new tag, clear it, replace it, find and replace, and any operations that you could do with other kind of attributes. Now the bulk update tool enables you to do it with tags as well. So this is the second enhancement, and this is like one heavily requested feature as well, which we wanted to add. And it is now enabled. It is already enabled, and you can try it when your tenants get enabled for preview tomorrow. The documentation is getting updated, which will be published tomorrow as well. So with that, these were the enhancements to the bulk update tool and the user experience. And I can give it back to Prasad to talk about analytics.
Thank you, Sushant. All right. So to derive actionable insights after the data is mastered in Reltio, we understand your needs to deliver this data in a data warehouse like Snowflake. In 21.1, we introduced this connector in the early access mode. So thank you for all of you who participated in the early access program and provided us the feedback. Based on the feedback from the EA customers and some other enhancements, we are extremely happy to release this in a GA mode in 21.2 release. So with this capability, with this connector, we can now deliver entities, relations, match, merge, and interactions data in a Snowflake environment, in your Snowflake environment, in both batch and an incremental batch mode. Self-service is always a fundamental pillar in all our product launches, and we have made sure that the initial configuration and the data delivery definition, it can be done without relying much on a technical resource. The pipeline itself is end-to-end secure, both during the transit and at rest, and it 100% complies with the Snowflake's best practices. Please reach out to your CSM for pricing and other information, and this information is available on our doc portal. So take a look at the documentation for getting started and how to guide. I want to hand it over to Nirmal to go over the improvements in the workflow inbox user experience.
Thank you, Prasad. Now, coming to governance and compliance, we are very pleased to announce the release of a list of key functionalities pertaining to Reltio Inbox with 2021.2 GA. And starting with the task variable filter, which gives you the flexibility to configure bespoke filter attributes that is relevant to the workflow deployed in your tenants. And we will be pre-configuring a set of attributes as task variables for default workflows. So as a reminder, so we have out-of-the-box workflows as data change request, potential match review, and recommend for delete. And for these workflows, we will be configuring DCR type, entity type, and relationship types as task variables, which should enable your data stewards to filter with this attributes from day one once it is available in your GA. So as an example, your data stewards will be able to shortlist, create DCRs from the list of DCRs which are assigned to them for review. And in the case of custom workflows, you can use or refer the task listener SDKs, which needs to be configured as part of your workflow. And we'll be publishing this SDKs in the Rocks utility, and you can refer these to activate similar filters for your data stewards. And the second capability I would like to introduce is the step filter in Inbox. This will be particularly useful for you who has workflows with multi-level review process. So with this filter, your users can filter for workflows which are at a particular step of the process. So we believe that this would be useful for the administrators to figure out where a workflow is at any point in time. And if it is stuck at one data steward, they can use this filter to identify those and reassign to a different set of data stewards. And on top of it, this filter will also enable your data stewards to use bulk action capability we released in 2021.1 with custom workflows. So when we released this bulk action in the last release, it was only applicable for out-of-the-box workflows. And with this release, we are very happy to extend that to your custom workflows as well. And with this release, another capability that we are updating is to provide your data stewards with at a glance view of the number of open tasks associated with each folder in the inbox. This, we believe, will make the inbox user experience in tune with the email inboxes available in the market. And last but by no means least, we are happy to announce that we are enhancing the visibility of closed workflow tasks by giving your users the capability to filter with the actual action applied on each workflow. So what this means is your data stewards now will be able to go to the closed DCRs and identify how many of them were approved versus how many of them were rejected. So you should see the step filter and the bulk action capability in your dev tenants as we activate the preview tomorrow, and rest of the features that I talked about will be available by the general availability date, which is 16th of June. With that, I'll give it back to Prasad to take you through the platform capabilities.
Thank you, Nirmal. If you go to the next slide, please. Thanks. I have been leading cleansing capabilities in Reltio for a while and have come across multiple scenarios where during an implementation cycle, a configuration specialist, they want to test the cleanse configuration and fine tune it based on the results or the trial and error method, right? However, it was not easy to do that unless you create an entity in the tenant or you load the data in the platform and check the results. So this whole process of configuring, testing can be a major overhead in the implementation cycle. What we have done in this release is we have designed a utility called the cleanse config testing, which will be a part of our data modeler in the Reltio console. With this, the configuration specialist can come here on the left-hand side panel on the screen. They can enter the input address and they can see the result of the cleanser without having to create an entity in the tenant. And they can use this process even once the data has gone live. You can use this to troubleshoot any bad address, have a dialogue with the customer support. In fact, the customer support of Reltio, they don't even have to log into the tenant and create an issue with the security and privacy. They can come here and test the cleansing configuration and troubleshoot an address. So this is a utility which can help us to go through this implementation cycle real quick and provide a faster time to value for our customers. So really excited for you guys to try out this tool. Cleansing is one of the important step during the implementation cycle. It can help you to get started real quick. And that was the last feature that we wanted to discuss in this 21.2 release overview. Please continue adding your questions to the Q&A panel. We also want to take a moment and go over some engagement and collaborative platforms like Reltio Community, Academy, and Documentation Portal. Reltio Community was introduced in April earlier this year, and we are absolutely loving the engagement and all the conversations that you are leading on this channel. So please continue collaborating on that, and you can use our community to provide feedback for all the features that were discussed by this team today on this call. We are always adding new training and courses on Reltio Academy to help you get trained on Reltio skills. So in this release, we have added a new course for Reltio reporting and Reltio analytics that will get you trained to derive the value from Reltio analytic line of product. Similarly, we are continuing with our investment in documentation. And in this release, we have made the documentation portal public. So you don't need to have an extra login to read the content there and read about the features and the capabilities in the Reltio cloud. It also has an option to provide feedback if you think more information can be added to any topic. Back to you, Kyle, to go over the poll.
Thanks, Prasad. We hope that you're looking forward to, many of the features, if not all of the features that were reviewed with you today. And we'd like to get some feedback from you. So on your screen, we'll be launching an active Zoom poll. And if you could, just please select one or more of the features that were reviewed with you today that you're really looking forward to launching. We'll allow a moment for that before moving forward. Okay. Well, there's a lot of collaboration that goes into every release that we have. that collaboration isn't just internal, it's with the participation of our customers and partners as well. So we thank you for that. You are definitely a part of this. And a release couldn't be successful without your participation and feedback. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your Reltio contact or join the Reltio community and engage with other customers, partners, and Reltians. Just as a reminder, tomorrow, 5/26, is the first day of our preview, and our GA release is on June 16th. Thanks again for attending today's session, and this recording will be accessible to you in approximately 1 business day.